Jobs was born in San Francisco in 1955 and adopted shortly afterwards. He attended Reed College in 1972 before withdrawing that same year. In 1974, he traveled through India, seeking enlightenment, before later studying Zen Buddhism. He and Wozniak co-founded Apple in 1976 to further develop and sell Wozniak's Apple I personal computer. Together, the duo gained fame and wealth a year later with production and sale of the Apple II, one of the first highly successful mass-produced microcomputers. Jobs saw the commercial potential of the Xerox Alto in 1979, which was mouse-driven and had a graphical user interface, GUI. In 1985, Jobs departed Apple after a long power struggle with the company's board and its then CEO, John Sculley. That same year, Jobs took some Apple employees with him to found Next, a computer platform development company that specialized in computers for higher education and business markets, serving as its seat in San Francisco, California, on February 24, 1955, to Joanne Carol Stevejobs and Abdel Fattah John Jandali, Arabic. Abdel Fattah Jandali was born in a Muslim household to wealthy Syrian parents, the youngest of 9 siblings. When Stevejobs became pregnant, she arranged for a closed adoption and traveled to San Francisco to give birth. 3. Stevejobs requested that her son be adopted by college graduates. A lawyer and his wife were selected, but they withdrew after discovering that the baby was a boy, so Jobs was instead adopted by Paul Reinhold and Clara Hagopian Jobs. Paul Jobs was the son of a dairy farmer. After dropping out of high school, he worked as a mechanic, then joined the U.S. Coast Guard. Paul Jobs worked in several jobs that included a try as a machinist, 10, several other jobs, 11, and then back to work as a machine. Jobs on Crisp Drive in Los Altos, California, is the original site of Apple Computer. The home was added to a list of historic Los Altos sites in 2013-16. Jobs had difficulty functioning in a traditional classroom, tended to resist authority figures, frequently misbehaved, and was suspended a few times. Clara had taught him to read as a toddler, and Jobs stated that he was pretty bored in school and had turned into a little terror. "You should have seen us in the 3rd grade, we basically destroyed the teacher." 15. Page needed. He frequently played pranks on others at Monte Loma Elementary School in Mountain View. His father Paul, who was abused as a child, never reprimanded him, however, and instead blamed the school for not challenging his brilliant son. High school yearbook photo, 1972. The location of the Los Altos home meant that Jobs would be able to attend nearby Homestead High School, which had strong ties to Silicon Valley. 9. He began his first year there in late 1968 along with Bill Fernandez, who introduced Jobs to Steve Wozniak, and would become Apple's first employee. Neither Jobs nor Fernandez, whose father was a lawyer, came from engineering households, and thus decided to enroll in John McCollum's electronics I class. Jobs had grown his hair long and become involved in the growing counterculture, and the rebellious youth eventually clashed with McCollum and lost interest in the class. In 1971, after Wozniak began attending University of California, Berkeley, Jobs would visit him there a few times a week. This experience led him to study in nearby Stanford University's student union. Instead of joining the electronics club, Jobs put on light shows with a friend for Homestead's avant-garde jazz program. He was described by a Homestead classmate as kind of brain and kind of hippie, but he never fit into two. Jobs enrolled at Reed College in Portland, Oregon. He insisted on applying only to Reed, although it was an expensive school that Paul and Clara could ill afford. Jobs soon befriended Robert Friedland, who was Reed's student body president at that time. Brennan remained involved with Jobs while he was at Reed. After just one semester, Jobs dropped out of Reed College without telling his parents. Jobs later explained this was because he did not want to spend his parents' money on an education that seemed meaningless to him. He continued to attend by auditing his classes, including a course on calligraphy that was taught by Robert Palladino. In a 2005 commencement speech at Stanford University, Jobs stated that during this period, he slept on the floor in friends' dorm rooms, returned Coke bottles for food money, and got weekly free meals at the local Hare Krishna temple. In that same speech, Jobs said, "If I had never dropped in on that single calligraphy course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced from Apple." In 1985, Jobs founded Next Incorporated with $7 million. A year later he was running out of money, and he sought venture capital with no product on the horizon. Eventually, Jobs attracted the attention of billionaire Ross Perot, who invested heavily in the company. The Next computer was shown to the world in what was considered Jobs' comeback event, a lavish invitation-only gala launch event that was described as a multimedia extravaganza. The celebration was held at the Louise M. Davies Symphony Hall, San Francisco, California, on Wednesday, October 12, 1988. Steve Wozniak said in a 2013 interview that while Jobs was at Next, he was really getting his head down. Jobs funded the spin-out of the graphics group, later renamed Pixar, from Lucasfilm's computer graphics division for the price of $10 million, $5 million of which was given to the company as capital and $5 million of which was paid to Lucasfilm for technology rights. Jobs and his Pixar team visited the Oval Office in 1998. The first film produced by Pixar with its Disney partnership, Toy Story, 1995, with Jobs credited as executive producer, 120, brought financial success and critical acclaim to the studio when it was released. Over the course of Jobs' life, under Pixar's creative chief John Lasseter, the company produced box office hits A Bug's Life, 1998, Toy Story 2, 1999, Monsters Incorporated, 2001, Finding Nemo, 2003, The Incredibles, 2004, Cars, 2006, Ratatouille, 2007, WALL-E, 2008, Up, 2009, Toy Story 3, 2010, and Cars 2, 2011. Brave, 2012, Pixar's first film to be produced since Jobs' death, honored him with a tribute for his contributions to the studio. Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Toy Story 3, and Brave each received the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, an award introduced in 2000. Jobs' former company Apple was struggling, and its survival depended on completing its next operating system. After failed negotiations to purchase B Incorporated, Apple eventually came to a deal with Next in December for $400 million. The deal was finalized in February 1997, bringing Jobs back to the company he had co-founded. Jobs became de facto chief after then CEO Gil Amelio was ousted in July 1997. He was formally named interim chief executive on September 16. In March 1998, to concentrate Apple's efforts on returning to profitability, Jobs terminated several projects, such as Newton, CyberDog, and OpenDoc. In the coming months, many employees developed a fear of encountering Jobs while riding in the elevator, afraid that they might not have a job when the doors opened. The reality was that Jobs' summary executions were rare, but a handful of victims was enough to terrorize a whole company. Jobs changed the licensing program for Macintosh clones, making it too costly for the manufacturers to continue making machines. Jobs usually went to work wearing a black long-sleeved mock turtleneck made by Issey Miyake, Levi's 501 blue jeans, and New Balance 991 sneakers. Jobs told his biographer Walter Isaacson, he came to like the idea of having a uniform for himself, both because of its daily convenience, the rationale he claimed, and its ability to convey a signature style. Jobs was diagnosed with cancer. In mid-2004, he announced to his employees that he had a cancerous tumor in his pancreas, 159. The prognosis for pancreatic cancer is usually very poor, wink with a frown. 160. Jobs stated that he had a rare, much less aggressive type, known as islet cell neuroendocrine tumor, 159. Jobs resisted his doctor's recommendations for medical intervention for 9 months, 161, in favor of alternative medicine. Other doctors agreed that Jobs' diet was insufficient to address his disease. However, cancer researcher and alternative medicine critic David Gorski wrote that it's impossible to know whether and by how much he might have decreased his chances of surviving his cancer through his flirtation with Wu. My best guess was that Jobs probably only modestly decreased his chances of survival, if that. 162, 163, Barry R. Cassileth, the chief of Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center's Integrative Medicine Department, 164, on the other hand, said, Jobs' faith in alternative medicine likely cost him his life. He had the only kind of pancreatic cancer that is treatable and curable. He essentially committed suicide. 165, according to biographer Walter Isaacson, for 9 months he refused to undergo surgery for his pancreatic cancer, a decision he later regretted as his health and diet, acupuncture, herbal remedies, and other treatments he found online, and even consulted a psychic. He was also influenced by a doctor who ran a clinic that advised juice fasts, bowel cleansings, and other unproven approaches, before finally having surgery in July 2004. 167, 168, he underwent a pancreaticoduodenectomy, or Whipple procedure, that appeared to remove the tumor successfully. 169, 170, Jobs did not receive chemotherapy or radiation therapy. 159, 171, during Jobs' absence, Tim Cook, head of worldwide sales and operations at Apple, ran the company. 159. In January 2006, only Jobs' wife, his doctors, and Iger knew that his cancer had returned. Jobs told Iger privately that he hoped to live to see his son Reed's high school graduation in 2010. 125. In early August 2006, Jobs delivered the keynote for Apple's annual Worldwide Developers Conference. His thin, almost gaunt appearance and unusually listless delivery, 172, 173, together with his choice to delegate significant portions of his keynote to other presenters, inspired a flurry of media and internet speculation about the state of his health. 174. In contrast, according to an Ars Technica Journal report, Worldwide Developers Conference, WWDC, attendees who saw Jobs in person said he looked fine. 175. Following the keynote, an Apple spokesperson said that Steve's health is 28. 2008, Bloomberg mistakenly published a 2,500-word obituary of Jobs in its corporate news service, containing blank spaces for his age and cause of death. News carriers customarily stockpile up-to-date obituaries to facilitate news delivery in the event of a well-known figure's death. Although the error was promptly rectified, many news carriers and blogs reported on it. 182. Intensifying rumors concerning Jobs' health. 183. Jobs responded at Apple's September 2008 Let's Rock keynote by paraphrasing Mark Twain, "The reports of my death are greatly exaggerated." 184, 185, at a subsequent media event, Jobs concluded his presentation with a slide reading 110/70, referring to his blood pressure, stating he would not address further questions about his health. 186. On December 16, 2008, Apple announced that Marketing Vice President Phil Schiller would deliver the company's final keynote address at the Macworld Conference and Expo 2009, again reviving questions about Jobs' health. 187, 188, in a statement given on January 5, 2009, on Apple.com, Jobs said that he had been suffering from a hormone imbalance for several months.